The concept of HACCP was developed during space missions in the 1960s by NASA to prevent their astronauts from getting sick from food they were eating in outer space. Today, here on Earth, the HACCP mission is to prevent you and I from getting sick from the foods we eat. Each year, millions of illnesses in this country can be traced to foodborne bacteria. Let's take a look at one example of how HACCP works in the case of hamburger production on the road to food safety.
Hello, Mr. Boone.
Hi, Taryn. How are you doing?
Doing good.
As you know, I've hired you to help us make hamburger, but there's a few things I want to go over with you first. The main thing to remember is we're going to want to make a safe, wholesome product. Now, before we get to talking about specifics, I want to walk through the facility here and show you the various steps that we'll be going through. Then we're going to want to talk about your specific job duties.
Hiring a new employee is a challenge for the employer and the new worker. The owner is investing in the employee in hopes that they will take responsibility for their duties and become an asset to the business. By assuming some of the owner's responsibilities, you, the employee, can help make the operation more profitable. The owner's job is not just to show you what to do, but how to follow the safety procedures you are expected to carry out.
Okay, now what's next?
Well, you'll be making ground beef, just like we saw in the plant, from raw meat, following certain steps. Let's take a look at those. Now, Taryn, this is the Bible of food safety because it has the guidelines for making ground beef. Now, we know that when we follow these guidelines, we're doing the absolute most we can do to create a safe, wholesome product.
HACCP is a program designed to help prevent foodborne illnesses. The acronym HACCP, HACCP, stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. It establishes control measures based on the scientific elements of a food product and the manufacturing process. That simply means that the processor can anticipate where food can become contaminated and take corrective action to prevent it. Prevention is the key to finding potential hazards before they become problems. A HACCP plan first creates a stepwise flowchart showing exactly what happens in your production process. You will need to sit down with all the employees who are involved in each of those steps. Ask the managers, the area supervisors, engineers, and those in shipping about their jobs to write an accurate flowchart of the process. The first step in the HACCP plan is hazard analysis. Hazards can be chemical, physical, and microbiological. Chemical hazards can be cleaning compounds, equipment lubricants, petroleum, or anything that does not belong in the finished product. Physical hazards can be wood from pallets, cardboard box, or paper, metal, or any foreign material. Microbiological hazards are potentially the most dangerous of the three. They are the invisible dangers waiting to invade the food production process. Microorganisms are everywhere, on all surfaces, equipment, meats, and you and I. Some of these tiny pests can be deadly if consumed. 3 of the worst are Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli. It's critical that you identify how and where these hazards are likely to infect your product and take corrective action to either control or eliminate them. Now that you've identified potential hazards, you must determine if they are a critical control point or a control. A critical control point is a step or procedure where a control can be applied. The control either prevents, eliminates, or reduces a food safety hazard to acceptable levels. Areas likely to be critical control points are cooking, refrigeration, or when freezing raw material or finished product.
Now, Taryn, I want you to take the temperature of the raw meat as it arrives, and that way we prevent any bad meat from coming in right off the bat. Taryn, we also want to make sure that you take the temperature in this room to make sure that the raw meat stays cold until it's time to process it. It's also extremely important to take the temperature here in the processing room where the grinding is going on. Bacteria thrive in a warm environment, and once they start growing, then the meat is contaminated and someone's going to get sick. And of course, it's also important to take that temperature in the freezer because we've got to maintain the proper temperature before that product is shipped. The number one thing is we don't want our customers to become sick.
Earlier, we mentioned establishing limits for the critical control points. In food production, the goal is to keep microbe populations within a safe range. Limits can also be set by the USDA for amounts of additives such as nitrites and nitrates. Physical hazard limits may be met by using a metal detector to find fragments after the product is boxed and ready for storage or shipment.
Taryn, I'd like you to take some measurements and then document the readings in this notebook. You're going to be the person in charge of receiving raw meat at the dock and also taking temperatures at the positions I showed you. Now you'll record the data on this page.
The next step is monitoring. Without this, you won't know if the critical control points are within limits. Here we have a case where the temperature is too high. It's corrected by lowering the thermostat and then recording in the logbook. When the monitoring system tells you a critical control point is out of control, your next step is to take corrective action. It may mean raising or lowering the temperature or cooking the product longer. This leads us to record keeping in the HACCP plan. When critical control points are not within limits, a record log documents the time, place, and what is out of control. Recording the action taken is an extremely important part of the whole HACCP plan. Detailing these steps, their limits, and the corrective actions taken help create a safe environment for food production. The verification step confirms through documentation that the HACCP plan is being followed correctly. It also uses supplemental information, such as test results, to show that the plan is working. Verification involves microbiological and chemical testing. Another form of verification is periodic review by experts who confirm that all hazards are recognized and being addressed. Let's review the 7 principles of HACCP. First, assess the hazards for your product. Second, determine the critical control points and the potential hazards in your plant. Third, set limits according to established limits for each critical control point in your area. The fourth principle requires that you monitor your CCPs by recording temperatures. You need to be diligent here and avoid exceeding limits. Next, the fifth step is taking action to correct any predetermined points before they get out of control. Record keeping is the sixth step in the plan of attack. Accurate details on hand help you spot and prevent problems, plus document what actions you took. Verification is the last procedure in the HACCP plan. Verify your plan with experts who know the product and can point out anything you may have missed. Please remember this: the actions you do or do not take while handling food can determine the health of those who eat, and we all eat. Thank you for taking this responsibility seriously and for protecting us all.